Good appraisal forms usually include a combination of the following components. Employee information. This section of the form includes basic employee information such as job title, division, department, and other workgroup information, relevant dates, and pay grade or salary classification. Accountabilities and objectives. If the organization adopts a results approach, this section would include the name and description of each accountability, agreed upon objectives, and the extent to which they've been achieved. This section can also include a subsection describing conditions under which performance was achieved, which may help explain why the employee achieved a particular level, high or low, of performance. Competencies and behavioral indicators. If the organization adopts a behavioral approach, this section of the form includes a definition of the various competencies to be assessed, together with their behavioral indicators. Achievement and contributions. Some forms include a section in which the rater is asked to list two or three major accomplishments of the individual being rated during the review period. Then, developmental achievements. This section includes information about the extent to which developmental goals have been achieved. Needs, plans, and goals. This section of the form is future oriented and includes information about specific goals and timetables in terms of employee development. Some organizations choose to create a separate development form and do not include this information as part of the performance appraisal itself. Multiple performance touchpoints. Some forms include sections to be completed by different raters involved in different types of performance touchpoints, who have firsthand knowledge of and are affected by the employee's performance. Employee comments. This section includes reactions and comments provided by the employee being rated. In addition to allowing formal employee input, which improves the perceived fairness of the system, the inclusion of this section helps with legal issues because it documents that the employee has had an opportunity to participate in the evaluation process. The final section of the form includes signatures, in which the employee being rated, the rater, and the rater's supervisor sign the document to show that they have seen and discussed the content in the form. Before implementing appraisal forms, make sure that all of the necessary components are present in your design. We should be aware that there's no such thing as a universally correct performance appraisal form that can be used for all purposes and in all situations. In some cases, a form may emphasize competencies rather than results. This would be the case if the system adopted a behavior approach as opposed to results approach to measure performance. In others, the form may emphasize developmental issues and minimize or even completely ignore both behaviors and results. In such cases, the form would be used for developmental purposes only and not for administrative purposes. In yet other cases, there may be a very short form used for a weekly check-in and a separate and more comprehensive form used for a quarterly, semi-annual, or even annual review. In spite of the large variability in terms of format, there are certain desirable features that make appraisal forms particularly effective for all types of jobs and hierarchical positions in the organization. Forms need to be easy to understand, easy to administer, and quick to complete. If forms are too complicated, it's likely that the performance assessment process will not be effective or may not happen at all. Good forms include information related directly to the tasks and responsibilities of the job, otherwise, they'll be regarded as administrative burdens and not as a tool for performance improvement. Good forms require that raters provide evidence of performance and that it's sufficiently descriptive to an outside party so they have a clear understanding of performance information conveyed. Good forms allow managers in different functions and departments to adapt them to their particular needs and situations. This feature encourages widespread use of the form. Good forms also include all major areas of performance for a particular position for the entire review period. Desirable competencies and results are clearly defined for all raters so that everyone evaluates the same attributes. This feature enhances the consistency of ratings across raters and levels of the organization. The meaning of each of these components of the form must be clearly and successfully communicated to all people participating in the evaluation process. This enhances acceptance of the system and motivation to participate in it, both as a rater and as an employee. Good forms help clarify expectations about performance. They address not only the past, but the future as well. After performance data have been gathered for each employee, there's usually a need to compute an overall performance score. This is particularly necessary for making administrative decisions such as the allocation of rewards. Computing overall performance scores is also useful in determining whether employees and groups of employees are improving their performance over time. This is a critical advantage of approaching performance management with a performance and analytics mindset. We use performance data collected on an ongoing basis to create meaningful insights that help individuals grow and develop and to improve individual and team performance. Two main strategies are used to obtain an overall performance score for each employee: judgmental and mechanical. The judgmental procedure consists of considering each aspect of performance and then arriving at a defensible summary. The holistic approach relies on the ability of the rater to arrive at a fair, accurate overall score. The mechanical procedure consists of condensing scores assigned to each section and then weighting them or combining them to obtain an overall score. The use of weights allows the supervisor to come to an objective and clear overall performance score for each employee. In most cases, the mechanical method is superior to the judgmental method. A supervisor is more likely to introduce biases in computing overall performance scores when no clear rules exist regarding how to combine the performance dimensions. As far as the computation of overall scores goes, the mechanical method is superior to the judgmental method. If we want to create a culture which encourages everyone to improve performance on an ongoing basis, conversations about performance should be part of everyone's routine. That's why so many companies currently implement check in systems. This allows employees to talk about what they're doing and the results they're generating with several performance touchpoints, such as peers and supervisors. How long should the appraisal period be? Most organizations typically conduct a formal review annually, while others choose semi annual or even quarterly reviews. Conducting only an annual review is usually not sufficient for most employees to discuss performance issues in a formal setting. Recommendation then is to conduct a formal sit down review semi annually or quarterly. Most organizations adopt one of two possibilities. First, the appraisal form could be completed on or around the anniversary date. The biggest advantage is that the supervisor does not have to fill out everyone's forms at the same time. A second choice is to complete the appraisal form towards the end of the year. Adopting this approach leads to the completion of the appraisal form for all employees at about the same time, which facilitates cross employee comparisons as well as the distribution of rewards. If there's an ongoing communication between the supervisor and the employee, completing appraisal forms should not uncover any major surprises nor create a major time burden for supervisors. Performance management systems can include 6 formal meetings between the direct report and the supervisor: a system integration, self appraisal, classical performance review, merit or salary review, developmental plan, and objective setting meetings. Recall that informal performance discussions take place throughout the year. However, there should be regularly scheduled formal review meetings as well. The first meeting, the system inauguration, includes an overview of how the system works, the role of self appraisal, and important dates. This meeting is particularly important for new employees. Second meeting, the self-appraisal is the opportunity for the employee to describe how she sees her own performance during the review period. Third meeting, the classical performance review meeting, includes a discussion of employee performance both from the perspective of the supervisor and the employee. Many performance management systems include this type of meeting only. Fourth meeting, the merit salary review discussions include what, if any, compensation changes will result as a consequence of the period's performance rating. The fifth meeting, the developmental plan, discusses the employee's developmental needs and what steps will be taken so that performance will be improved during the following period. The sixth and final meeting, objective setting, includes setting goals, both behavioral and results oriented, regarding the following review period. Although these 6 meetings are possible, not all 6 take place separately. For example, the self-appraisal, classic performance review, and merit or salary review, development plan, and objective setting meetings may all take place during one umbrella meeting. It's ideal to separate the types of meetings so that the employee and supervisor will focus on each of the components separately. Let's consider the use of the direct supervisor as the source of performance information, followed by the use of other sources including peers, direct reports, self, and customers. As a source of performance information, supervisors are usually in the best position to evaluate performance in relation to strategic organizational goals. Supervisors are often those making decisions about rewards associated with performance evaluation, and in the hierarchical cultural context, supervisors are seen as the exclusive source. Many organizations use performance evaluations provided by peers. Peer evaluations have some weaknesses and should not be used as the sole source of performance information. Direct reports are a good source of information regarding the performance of managers. Direct reports may be asked to rate their manager's ability to remove barriers that employees face, shield employees from politics, and raise employees' competence. Many organizations take upward feedback very seriously because it provides tangible benefits. As discussed earlier, self-appraisals are an important component of any performance management system. They become particularly prominent given increasingly popular views regarding the need to shift from performance appraisal to performance management. Customers participate in performance touchpoints in many types of industries, occupations, and jobs. Although collecting information from customers can be costly and time-consuming, performance information provided by customers is particularly useful for jobs that require a high degree of interaction with the public. Moreover, performance information can also be collected from internal customers. If performance information is collected from more than one source, it's likely that there will be some overlap in the dimensions measured. When the same dimension is evaluated across sources, we should not necessarily expect ratings to be similar. Different sources disagreeing about an employee's performance is not necessarily a problem. If disagreements are found, a decision must be made regarding the relative importance of the rating provided by each source. Regardless of who rates the performance, performance ratings may be intentionally distorted or inaccurate. When this happens, incorrect decisions may be made. Employees are likely to feel that they're treated unfairly, and the organization is more prone to litigation. In other words, when performance ratings are distorted, the performance management system not only fails to result in desired outcomes, but also may lead to very negative consequences for employees and the organization. To prevent these negative outcomes, we need to understand why raters are likely to provide distorted ratings.